The Australian police situation is crazy. So, I don't usually say this, but then in reality, what is going on with the Australian police right now? For the last few months, we've had a Melbourne shooting, a Bondi Beach tavern shooting terrorist incident, Port also massacre before, and then before, but more recently, George and Shanks, finally George Dees, the YouTuber's house getting firebombed. At this point, again, it's not just 3 bad apples or that one squirrel that finds a good apple once in a while. It is the entire fruit shop set on fire. So let's start with Melbourne. Melbourne, the city that lectures around what's good. AFL, good coffee and good croissants. And how the rest of Australia about more something somehow keeping up in headlines involving organised crime, bike violence and shootings. And every single time police come out and say, this was a targeted incident, the public is not at risk. Which is court speak for, yeah, criminals are shooting each other, but don't worry, they just don't exist near them. But apparently bullets no respect zoning laws. So really, the problem isn't just the crime, it's that everyone knows who's involved too. These groups aren't invisible, they're not underground, they're not geniuses. Yet somehow enforcement only kicks in after someone gets shot. Maybe. Then we get Bondi. Broad daylight. In broad daylight. One of the most famous beaches on earth. Families, tourists, locals, everyone. And suddenly Australia realizes, oh, we're not immune to this stuff anymore. Now credit we're doing, and the first responders were brave, the lifeguards were brave, and the guy who took down the shooter was really brave, and well done him. I hope he and all families affected are okay though. No argument there. But here's the uncomfortable bit. How does someone already flagged as a dangerous male make it far into the location before action happens? Australia loves surveillance, cameras everywhere, it's Western world, we all know, data spaces everywhere, paperwork, not so much, but still everywhere. Yet prevention somehow with life after the tragedy, never before. Now let's talk about the one that really exposes the system, at least he claims it does. George and Shanks, finally George's house firebombed. Not a criminal, not a gang member, just a YouTuber with just over 1 million subs, if I remember correctly. And not just random YouTuber drama. This was linked to organized crime figures, which raises a very simple question. How does a known organized crime associate to allegedly firebomb a high-profile political commentator, and it takes forever for anything to happen? If Jordan was some random bloke in Western Sydney, this would have been buried in page 12 of the news. And his house wasn't bloody Bondi, just keep that in mind. But because he's public, it accidentally reveals something. Australia is really soft on organized crime, unless it's embarrassing for its politicians. And the chilling part, this message sends is, if you're loud enough, someone powerful enough might shut you up. That's not police problem, that's a real democratic problem. The bigger issue. Here's pattern. Known criminals, known risks, known warning signs, and yet action only happens after blood is spilled and warning signs. And police are incredible at finding people and random drug dogs, strip searches, paperwork. But when it comes to organised crime again, corruption and intimidation, suddenly everything is complex and ongoing. Australia doesn't just have this problem, also an under-policing problem, it has a misprioritization problem. And again, it is a massively visible problem, especially in some states looking at you, Victoria, Melbourne, Sydney, and New South Wales. No, Australia thinks absent. No, this isn't the USA. But pretending everything is fine when tourists get firebombed and beaches turn into crime scenes is how everything rots quietly away. Sort out before targeted incident becomes national slogan. Like, subscribe, and remember the public is not apparently at risk until they are.